What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel and you check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to talk about this recent video that I came across with Dakick and Jason Whitlock fighting over Caitlin Clark, right? And I'm like, what is this all about? What's going on? Like, what's the big deal now? Jason Whitlock took exception to some things that Dakick said about Caitlin Clark. Jason Whitlock also believes that Dakick is switching up on Caitlin Clark because they're trying to. He's in cahoots with the Fever management and brass, and they're in cahoots. They're trying to run Caitlin Clark out of Indiana, right? And so Jason Whitlock thinks that Dakick is a part of that conspiracy. Right now, I didn't watch a lot of Dakick, but the few videos a while ago that I seen about Dakick, he was like a Caitlin Clark supporter and a Caitlin Clark fan. But lately, Dakick has been kind of like he changed, like he kind of switched sides on Caitlin Clark, right? And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna listen to this video, and I'm gonna play the audio. But I want to see, is the fact that Dakick is changing his tune, do that mean that he's part of a conspiracy, or do he have like legitimate reason to change his tune when it comes to Caitlin Clark? Personally, before I even play the audio, I don't really feel like my opinion about Caitlin Clark hasn't changed. I honestly feel like the organization, in my opinion, is not really supporting her. Like I see them support like other rookies and their other franchise players around the league. So, but I'm gonna play, and I want you to listen to the back and forth between Jason Whitlock and Dakick and make up your own mind.
Dakick has been tweeting things anti-Caitlin Clark, and it's really frustrated me.
You're dead ass wrong on me. This is pure theater by Whitlock. The dumbest human beings, I've always said it, when it comes to actual sports are guys like Jason Whitlock.
Dan, think this through.
It's an indictment of Clark. How great is our country? The two biggest issues in our country, last week it was Jackson Dart introducing the president of the United States, and this week it's a female basketball player named Caitlin Clark rolling her eyes at a female coach named Stephanie White. Look, I don't care whether it's first grade, fifth grade, 10th grade, junior varsity, high school, college, pros, whatever. When your best player rolls their eyes and acts like a complete idiot on the bench, it's going to be a problem. I don't give a damn what anybody had to say after this right here. Check out what we're talking about. This is America's favorite diva, Caitlin Clark, getting talked to harshly by her coach, and all she does is bitch, whine, and moan and come back. Now, Caitlin Clark defenders, I was fouled. I wasn't fouled. She's being demonstrative, and frankly, this is just another example of her being a jackass. And we're going to talk about people criticizing me for this take, but I understand little Caitlin has the children of the corn wrapped up, and I understand a bunch of middle-aged guys can't stand me, so they love her. But you can all suck it. That's exactly.
Now, the video with Caitlin Clark having a back and forth with her coach, I just chalked that up as like Caitlin Clark, in my opinion, I think she was very, I think that she's frustrated. That's what I'm feeling from Caitlin Clark. So, I don't know. I didn't really think it was a big deal. I just thought that Caitlin Clark is frustrated about what's going on in Indiana. She's frustrated because she's not having the type of success that she would like to have. So I didn't really read too much into that situation with Caitlin Clark and her coach Stephanie White.
Exactly right. You can all suck it, and everybody's making excuses. Everybody's saying, oh, my God, it's so in-depth. It's so hard. Poor Caitlin. She's in such a no, just don't act like a dick. When you watch her, you get really tired of it. And people say, well, Jordan did that. She ain't Jordan. And Jordan didn't do dribbling down the court, bitching literally on every single call, bitching at her coaches, bitching at everybody. It got in-depth. And we had to bring in the big guns. We had to bring in the lesbians, although I don't think Sue Bird's a lesbian. We had to bring in Reggie Miller's sister, Cheryl, and Sue Bird for an in-depth, nuanced discussion. Everything's nuanced. No, it's not. Quit acting like a dick, Caitlin Clark, and people wouldn't have to talk about you being a dick, and people wouldn't have to make excuses for you being a dick.
Right
now with Caitlin Clark, I don't really like any basketball players like like complaining about calls constantly. Like I used to, when Rasheed Wallace used to do that, I used to think that kind of took away from his game. But Rasheed Wallace is still a great basketball player. I just thought that at times it would hurt the team. So I don't know. Some guys and some women are just like that.
It's frustration, and unfortunately, it's boiling over, and it's being seen. It's one thing to have it behind closed doors, but when it spills over and when the coach has to basically say, hey, you know what, Caitlin, enough is enough. This is too disruptive. In and out, take a seat. What do you think?
I agree. I think it's frustration. I'm not like the best lip reader, but I feel like Stephanie White did say defense a couple times. And Caitlin Clark was in foul trouble this game. And obviously we know how things are being called. So I think it is a lot of frustration, but it's also like not that crazy. This isn't the first time we've seen this. It doesn't have some deeper meaning to it. I've had moments like that with coaches. I think it speaks to relationships, player-coach relationships. Like shout out Brian Agler. You could say anything to that man and you could keep it moving. And then I had other coaches where maybe you couldn't, and you have to learn each other in that way.
But you knew the line. But you knew the line. When it becomes disruptive, and then when and that's when even Kelsey Mitchell kind of chimed in and said, like, you need to go stand over here and let us just regain the calm in our huddle. When it becomes that disruptive to the entire team, somebody has to step in.
That was considered by Jim.
All right, so I agree when it becomes disruptive, right? But if Caitlin Clark in her first 2 years you didn't have that issue. That's why I'm chalking it up to frustration with the situation in Indiana. I just think it's frustration, basically. And she's probably running out of patience with some of the things that's going on. So, but I do think that Caitlin Clark she can control her temper because she did it for the first 2 years.
Hill to be great, deep, nuanced analysis.
First of all, two people being competitive, two people that really want to win. And I think a lot of those things happen all the time, and I know there's a camera on me, and that's how it's going to be. But there's a lot of people out there in the media or on TV that they think they know a lot of things, and they're just blatantly wrong about a lot of things. And I ride for Steph. I ride for these girls. Steph has my back more than anybody. So, nobody in our locker room, or Steph or our coaching staff thought twice about it. It's just another example of what all of you want to blow up and make something that is just lost and not in reality.
Bullshit. I mean, look, that's one thing to say when you don't see it publicly. Yeah, total horse shit. Somebody told her what to say. Somebody gave her, I ride with her. She has my back. She can't stand you, and rightfully so. Oh, I guarantee you. I mean, she knows that you got rid of Christy Sides, who was the coach of the year in the WNBA. She knows that you're a diva. Look, nobody is smarter in women's basketball than Steph White. I mean, nobody. Zero, zip, nada. And she knows that you are an absolute menace, and you don't win enough. That's the bigger issue. I mean, you're on a 500 team now. Are the Fever tough enough to work through this? They haven't been. They had their best run without Caitlin Clark. They did. So, again, what a great country when this is what we're discussing. A woman who's never won nothing, playing in a league of angry African-American lesbians, for a coach that's trying to actually coach her, and she won't accept it, but we're all supposed to genuflect. Not me. No, not I. All right, here's Whitlock. He had some things to say about my position on Caitlin Clark. Let's hear from Whitlock.
Dan Dakick has been tweeting things anti-Caitlin Clark. And it's really frustrated me. It's because... All
right, so before Jason Whitlock go on, though, like Dan Dakick did state his case, right? Dan Dakick gave some examples of why he feel, the way he feel. So, he stated some, like I said, his case and some facts, right? So I want to hear if Jason Whitlock do the same thing, or if he just say what he feel instead of what he knows.
Dan lives in the Indianapolis area. He's Indiana guy, played basketball for Bobby Knight, former college basketball coach. I like Dan Dakick. I get it. That Caitlin Clark throws tantrums and she's a diva. I get it. But we can work through that. We can get her in a better place as it relates.
Stop. Please stop. We're not working through anything. Now, this is where we can work through. This is all.
Now, I wonder why. I don't know. I'm gonna let it play out, but I wonder why he stopped and just not. Certain players, certain coaches do allow. They give them. They do work through certain situations because they feel like the player is that good and they're worthy of, to be able to get away with certain things. So.
Oh, by Whitlock. I like Whitlock. I do. I retweet him often. But the big fella here is doing, I don't know, theater. Because there is nothing that Whitlock, myself, or anybody is going to do as we to get Caitlin Clark anywhere. I watched Caitlin Clark on the red carpet. She has a whole crew around her. I mean, she's got bodyguard. There ain't nothing that anybody's going to say. And it isn't my responsibility to get her through anything. Let me look at the camera very clearly. I don't give a rat's ass about the Fever unless they make a run in the playoffs and my daughter's in town and I'll take her, my wife, my stepdaughter to the game. We aren't getting her. This is pure theater by Whitlock. We're not getting anybody through anything. Go ahead. What are we doing? What are we doing here?
You got to see the overall big picture. And I know Dan, I don't know how old Dan's kids are, but again, he's a former college coach. He played for Bobby Knight. I get why Caitlin Clark's theatrics and antics on the court bother Dan, but we got to see the big picture here. This is about whether young heterosexual women are going to be allowed to compete in basketball without all of this pressure to transition to an alternative lifestyle. This is Dakick.
Clark. Yeah, I like Dan Dakick in my opinion, he's just making a more solid case because like it just in my opinion, it just seemed like Jason Whitlock is more so deflecting, right? You bringing in like the sexualities and stuff like that. When we talking about attitudes on the court and we talking about being disruptive, we're talking about team chemistry and stuff like that. So, if Jason Whitlock made some different type of argument, a more solid argument, then you're talking about like Caitlin Clark is standing up for heterosexual women. That's not that. I think it's more so her frustration, than anything. Because like I said, she didn't really for her, her first year or two, I didn't really see her act out like what she did, with the coach recently. So I just chalk that up to frustration. But Jason Whitlock, yeah, it's all theater with him, man, because he's talking about sexuality and stuff like that when we talking about basketball, so I don't know, man. Let me know whose side you taking. You taking the argument of Dan Dakick. Dan made, like I said, he laid down the facts and told why he thought, what he really thought about Caitlin Clark, and he used facts. Jason Whitlock kind of deflected and try to make it seem like, Caitlin Clark is standing up for heterosexual women's rights and stuff like that. So let me know what you think. Make sure to like, subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, man, I'm going to check y'all out in the next video. Peace.